Welcome back to the Other Side Report. Tonight, we're traveling back to Mount Vernon, Indiana, a river town where history runs deep. Walk through downtown and you'll see the grand courthouse built in 1876, the old Alexandrian Public Library, and the Ohio riverfront where steamships once bustled with life. But Mount Vernon has another side. Just north of town lies Bellefontaine Cemetery, one of the oldest resting places in the county. Many of Mount Vernon's earliest families and Civil War soldiers are buried there. Among the leaning stones and tangled trees is a single grave that has given rise to one of the town's most enduring ghost stories. This is the legend of Margaret McClain, the restless spirit of Bellefontaine Cemetery. Margaret McClain was the daughter of James McClain, a well-known merchant in Mount Vernon. The McClains lived near College Avenue, close to the heart of town. Margaret grew up watching the bustle of the Ohio River, where steamboats brought goods and travelers into Posey County. In 1886, she was engaged to a young deckhand who worked the river. Their lives were full of promise until tragedy struck. In March of that year, the Ohio flooded its banks. The 1884 and 1886 floods were some of the worst Mount Vernon had ever seen, drowning farmland, sweeping away homes, and taking lives. Margaret's fiancé was among them. His boat was caught in the current near the Mount Vernon riverfront. Though debris and bodies were pulled from the water for weeks, his was never found. Margaret never recovered. Town records note her death just a year later in 1887. She was buried in Bellefontaine Cemetery beneath a simple stone cross that still stands today, its lettering faded, but her name still visible, Margaret. But many believe she never truly left. The first sightings began in the late 1800s. Visitors to Bellefontaine reported seeing a pale woman in white moving silently among the graves. Some thought it was grief-stricken family members mistaken in the shadows, but when they drew near, the woman would fade like mist. As decades passed, her presence was reported far beyond the cemetery. Clerks in the Posey County Courthouse told of seeing a figure outside the tall, arched windows at night, staring up as if searching for someone. At the Alexandrian Public Library, night staff claimed to glimpse her reflection in the glass doors, though no one was outside, but it's the Ohio riverfront where her spirit seems strongest. Fishermen in the 1920s and 1930s told of a woman standing at the end of the dock, her gown rippling as though caught in an unseen current. More recent reports in the 1990s described the same figure, always near the water, always silent. Some say she is waiting for her fiancé to return. Others believe the river keeps her spirit bound, tied to the tragedy that claimed her love. Locals quietly warn that Margaret does not like to be mocked. In the 1970s, two high school boys dared each other to tap her gravestone at midnight. When they returned to their car, wet handprints were pressed onto the windows. Though the night had been dry, one boy later claimed that for weeks he would wake in the night to see a woman standing in the corner of his bedroom, watching silently. Even today, drivers passing along Lower New Harmony Road, which runs by the cemetery, sometimes report seeing her at the gates. A lone figure in white, gone the moment headlights fall upon her. Whether her spirit is bound by love lost to the Ohio River, or whether her death simply left an imprint so strong it lingers across Mount Vernon's landmarks, one thing is certain, her grave still stands beneath the trees of Bellefontaine. So if you ever walk the rows of that cemetery at dusk, or pass the gates after dark, remember this: Margaret may still be searching. And if you hear a woman's voice carried on the river wind calling out into the night, don't answer. Thank you for joining us tonight on The Other Side Report. Subscribe for more legends and hauntings from across the country. And remember, the past does not always stay buried.